Hello, I'm Brigantia Blackbird of Blackbird's Brew. Happy Friday, and welcome to Romance in Modern Mythology, Spooky Couples Edition, our very last one for October and for this year. And we are looking at Gomez and Morticia Addams. Now, there's a reason why I chose them to be our finale couple for October. In my opinion, they are the best spooky couple that we look at. And one of the reasons why I chose them, because there is a beautiful naturalness and simplicity to their relationship. Whether we're looking at the pages of the cartoons or the 1960s TV show, the 90s movies, or recent reboots, the Addams family has a special charm all on of its own. Now, originally, Gomez and Morticia were intended to be a subversive couple, but they wound up being relationship goals. And the Addams family in general, that was meant to be the opposite of how families on TV were presented at the time. When you think about the 1960s, the vision of the ideal family was all very pristine and tidy and, tightly laced. There was no eccentricities. They were normal people, meaning that they were conformist with what was common at the time. And they were not particularly deep thinkers. And it was all very bland. And, you would look at the mom and dad of the family and wonder if, there was so much chemistry. If they had been cast as a brother and sister, with the widowed brother, bringing in his sister to help look after the kids, that would have been equally believable as them being husband and wife. But in contrast, the Addams, they lived in this spooky, over-the-top Italian Victorian mansion. It had really unique furnishings. They ate a peculiar diet, normal things that would be highly, highly lethal to us, like henbane or hemlock, this or that. But for them, somehow it turned out all right. And then what really put it all over the top, the thing that really stood out, is that Gomez and Morticia actually appeared to be in love with each other. I know, what an astonishing thought. There were a lot of differences between the Addams marriage and other TV marriages of the time, and we're going to point out just a couple of them. In the 1960s, this was the era of the marital bedroom being depicted with, two twin beds, and if you ever happened to see either party in the bed, it was never in the same one, to be sure. However, from time to time, we did see the interior of Gomez and Morticia's room, and we only saw one bed, and it was big and four-poster and gorgeous and completely scandalous for the time, even though you never saw them actually in it. But in other TV marriages, you seldom saw anything more passionate than a peck on the cheek between a married couple. But Gomez was forever kissing his way up Morticia's arm, and they were always dancing the tango or the waltz, and they were reaffirming their very, very romantic love for each other. So it was a complete disconnect. I've even seen some commentary that states repeatedly that at that time, Gomez and Morticia were the only TV couple that you actually believed would have produced children or that they would even have a physical relationship. There was actual chemistry there, whereas you looked at pretty much every other TV couple of the time and no, not so much. So there's a real beauty to Gomez and Morticia, and one of the ongoing appeal is that they have a relationship that is mutually supportive, respectful, and loving. And yet somehow when you look at it, this isn't inspiring jealousy or envy, maybe a sense of longing, but there's something very wholesome and very life-affirming about their relationship. They have a lot of shared passions and obviously have common values and a similar outlook on life. There's sincere enjoyment in each other's company. Gomez and Morticia also have, more individual pursuits, but these pursuits are fully supported by the other party, and they're willing to listen to the other person talk about it. They're not just waiting for the other person to stop blabbing away so that they can go on with what they were doing or change the subject to something else. And this is something that I think plenty of modern couples could do well to think about. I mean, can you imagine Morticia talking to Gomez and then being on a cell phone and doing this? Doing the scroll, looking like, okay. What, dear? No, it absolutely would not have happened. And as far as that happening in real life, It's one of those little actions that happens all the time that lets your spouse know that you don't really care. You're kind of indifferent towards them, and if they would stop talking so you could go back to your very important scrolling, that'd be great. And there's few things that are more painful than to be consistently reminded that your spouse doesn't actually find you interesting. That's not what marriage is supposed to be about. But Gomez and Morticia are obviously fully committed to each other and they are in it for the long haul. Neither has commitment issues that anybody has to tiptoe around. No one is casting a roving eye or cheating on each other, and the outside world does not dictate the terms of their relationship. The norms of that time were not in charge of how Gomez and Morticia treated each other. This is a stark difference between present day TV couples and honestly real couples who seem to be absolutely dominated by the socio-political moods of the day. And people seldom stop to consider if those outer pressures have any business meddling in a relationship that ought to be negotiated by the people actually in it. Now there's some food for thought. All in all, Gomez and Morticia represent a romantic ideal, emotional closeness, physical intimacy, and practical day to day teamwork. While other spooky couples this past month have represented romance gone wrong in a variety of forms, Gomez and Morticia are the polar opposite. They are the picture of the potential of a romance that's actually going right. And the fact that they're also part of a fun cast that does absolutely outrageous things in a spooky Victorian's house, well, that's just the icing on the cake, isn't it? So, that does it for our spooky couples edition for this year. Uh, hopefully next time October rolls around, we'll do another few videos on this on spooky couples. Next month, we're going to be moving on to other kinds of couples that we'll be looking at. So the Romance and Modern Mythology series will carry on. We'll be looking at different dynamics then. But that's it for now, and I will see you in another video. By the way, before I go, if you haven't already joined us at Blackbird's Brew on Discord, there will be a link to join in the description box below. And of course, subscribe, like, comment. Bye now.